Not much time to celebrate. The Lakers play at Oklahoma City tonight. OKC is the number 4 team in the Western Conference. The Clippers also get an impressive road win last night. They win by 14 at Sacramento. The Clippers had only 5 turnovers the entire game. A dominant performance from Kawhi Leonard, 35 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists. Best game for James Harden as a Clipper, 26 points, 6 assists, and 5 steals. The Clippers are at Golden State tonight. Tiger Woods played 9 holes Wednesday in the first round of the Hero World Challenge in the Bahamas. It was Tiger's first PGA event since he dropped out of the Masters in April. Tiger tees off in the second round today. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us in celebrating the season of giving by being part of the solution. As we enjoy great food, family, warmth, and well wishes in whatever our festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours. Now through December 20th, all of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert Park. During the holidays and every day, let's remember, we keep us safe. We keep us warm. We are the safety net, and together we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Tavis Smiley. Welcome to the second hour of our program today. Glad to have you with us. In this hour, I said at the top of the first hour, it's one of those days we're trying to squeeze an 80-pound show into a 40-pound bag. 2 conversations per hour. We're making our way through it, though. Great first hour today, and here we are now in our second hour. In this hour, as I said, 2 conversations on the B side of this hour. On May 10, 1875, a former slave stood in front of a judge and was sworn in as a deputy U.S. Marshal. That man was Bass Reeves. A conversation with writer Terrence Anthony about the new Paramount Plus series, Lawmen, Bass Reeves, on the backside of this hour. We commenced this hour, though, in conversation with content creator, gamer, social critic, and political commentator Eric D. July, who joins us now for a conversation about his own brand of freedom, including being black and libertarian. Eric D. July, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing great, brother. I appreciate you having me on. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing the best I can. If I complained, I'd be an ingrate, and I'm delighted to have you on this program. Let me just jump right in and make the most of these less than 30 minutes we have now. What does it mean in this present moment to be black and libertarian, Eric?
Well, great question. Well, look, the way that I kind of define liberty and libertarianism in the modern sense is a person that values, obviously, individual freedom. Looking at it from the concept of private property rights, obviously that's starting with yourself and your body, and therefore you own yourself. And nobody has the right, of course, to use aggression upon you. So it's one of those things where it became a principle that I certainly follow, and I try to apply to each and every single individual thing it is that I do, and it served me well up until this point, and this is something that I would love for other people to value as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you said that, because it excuse me, it warrants it warrants some interrogating, and that is this notion that we own ourselves, certainly spiritually and theoretically. I agree with your assessment, and yet I look at the way that we have to navigate the lives that we live in this country, certainly. And there's all kind of evidence to suggest that we really don't own ourselves. We don't own these bodies, given the way society pushes up against us and maltreats us. I think you take my point. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't necessarily. Let's say this. I would word it in a different way.
Sure.
In that I, of course, agree. When you consider the government and its involvement, or the state and its involvement in everybody's individual lives, even something as simple as like a property tax. Do you actually own your own land? It's something that I think is worth entertaining. So the way that I word it is not that we don't necessarily own our rights. It's more that these people who, let's say, are using acts of aggression upon us are impeding upon those individual rights that each and every individual naturally has. So they might declare it to be righteous by way of law or whatever it may be. But in terms of the concept of actual rights and that it's inherent in every individual and the fact that we are human beings, they're using aggression upon us and therefore impeding on those rights that already exist. So the concept is very similar. And I would agree that, considering the makeup of just even the government alone, it certainly shows that they don't like the fact, or they may disagree with the fact that we do own ourselves and our bodies.
Yeah, I think we agree. We own it, no question about it. But they have little respect for that ownership. That's my point. I think that there's very little respect for our ownership. That said, let me ask. I was having dinner last night with my friend Cornel West. Of course, as you know, he's running for president now as an independent. He was here in L.A. last night. We sat for dinner for a few hours. It never goes under a few hours. Once we get talking, it just goes and goes and goes. You look up and I said, man, I got to work tomorrow morning, so I got to get out of here. But we were together last night, and I was telling him he asked about the show today, and I was telling him the rundown of the show today. And he was fascinated by my conversation with you about your being a black libertarian. And he asked me, he said, Brother Tavis, he said, how do black libertarians show up politically these days? How do black libertarians show up politically? How would you answer that question?
Ooh, that's such a phenomenal question, because I think if you asked several other libertarians, they may have a different approach to it. Some people are all in on, let's say, the Libertarian Party. Some people are looking at it, well, that's maybe not as realistic. Maybe it's more of infiltrating one of the major two parties that will at least hear us out. I can empathize with either of those positions. For me, I'm all about culture, right? I've been being a commentator over the last decade. For example, I've been offered and asked by many to run for office and do this and that. But I feel like my place, and definitely if we're going to bring about this more free or more prosperous culture, let's say that, I think that's exactly where it starts. And we have a lot of work to do there. I don't think it's going to, let's say this. I look at politics like the lagging indicator of culture. You change the culture, the politics sort of change by default in whatever way that it looks. But we have like some fundamental core structural issues there in which people don't really value freedom. So this is why I use things like, music and other ways to sort of as a vehicle for this message and trying to get people to sort of understand and adopt that, because for a libertarian society or culture to manifest itself, we got a lot of work to do and a long way to go.
It's not often that I get a chance to talk to black libertarians, and so I got a long way to go in this conversation. When we come forward, I want to come back to this notion of black culture that Eric D. July raises a moment ago, and he's used the word freedom or free 3 or 4 times in this conversation. I am curious as to how black libertarians view the notion of black freedom. A great deal more to interrogate of our guest, Eric D. July, right now on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
Escalade IQ. This the intro to the all-electric Cadillac perfection like Zoom. And on a full charge, you get 450 miles without the stop. Haiku. This is what I do. Daddy fat intellect since 92. Linked all the way back, panoramic roof. Come with 24-inch rim standard. Ooh, why? Shawty don't kill 'em. Cadillac diamond in the back, cold chillin'. And when I'm on attack, on the track is no ceiling. Sky's the limit. You hear me? Straight drop, no parachutes. Lay lines like a longitude and latitude. Feel it, beloved, clearly we're hustling. Bustin', truckin'. Cadillac, Cadillac, Cadillac.
For more on the Escalade IQ, visit Cadillac.com.
Available late 2024. GM estimate 450 mile range on a full charge based on development testing and/or analytical projection consistent with SAHA 1634 revision 2017 MCT. Range subject to change prior to production. Annual rates may vary based on service factors, including ambience temperature, terrain, battery age, and condition loading, and how you use and maintain your vehicle.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or whether anyone cares about them.
But the reality is, 1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis and giving them the support and tools they need to succeed in life. To learn more, go to covenanthouse.org today. Thank you for caring.
Attention Los Angeles County residents. Dreaming of owning your own home? Looking for ways to generate income with your home? Or are you behind on payments and need help? Then mark your calendar for December 2nd. Join us at the Opening Doors Planning for the Stages of Home Ownership event at Magic Johnson Park in Willowbrook on December 2nd from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. for workshops, a resource fair, and much more. Attendance is free. We'll have raffle prizes, food, and more. Dive into valuable resources designed to help you navigate the home ownership pipeline. To learn more or to register for the event, please visit our website, dcba.la/openingdoors. Again, that website is dcba.la/openingdoors. See you at Magic Johnson Park on December 2nd. Doors open at 8 a.m. for registration. This message is brought to you by LA County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Indeed you are, and I'm glad about it. Our guest in this half hour is Eric D. July, content creator, gamer, and social commentator with a social media reach that goes into the millions, and I'm honored to have him on this program. So Eric, you were talking a moment ago about black culture. What's your assessment of the state of black culture right about now?
And I know maybe people aren't going to like me saying this, but look.
Say it.
I think we have to be honest with ourselves if you are to find a solution to the problem. So for me, looking at like what we deem as quote unquote black culture, it's not generally associated with things that's positive. Now we can talk all day about what came first, the chicken or the egg, who's influenced that. I just have to deal in absolutes. I have to deal with what is. Now, I don't think that this is a case of black culture being kind of doomed for failure. I am very much an individualist in that idea that the world can move without someone else moving it for us. And what I mean by that, it's going to the issues, let's say, that can be corrected. It's just, again, we have to kind of hold each other accountable there. And be honest. And, any given time, I'm sure you've experienced it. I know I've experienced. You start really unpeeling those layers, if you will, and people start feeling some kind of way because turning a mirror on some person or groups of people can often be a problem. Or they'll find it as a problem. But you got to be kind of honest with yourself. We can't expect any individual or groups of individuals can't expect to find any sort of solution without being honest with ourselves.
No, I agree with that. I guess my question is whether or not you think that black culture is headed in the right direction, if I can put it that way.
I mean,
or taking us in the right direction. Or I'm probing because I'm hearing some sort of implicit critique of black culture, but I'm trying to get you to come with it full force.
Well, most definitely. I think that there are areas of positivity. I mean, I look at myself and people that I've been able to converse with over the given years. I think Black people more than they have, let's say, in the previous decade, are becoming more mindful, right, of their individual actions, and also being more mindful of just like the political landscape. Again, me being a Black libertarian, I've seen more Black libertarians, that number, let's say, grow over the years. And that's awesome. I think that's a necessary thing. This sort of political hive mind may have got us into this situation. However, there are still those that are destructive. And let's be completely honest. There are those, and this is why, unfortunately, people do associate Black culture with degeneracy, with violence, and we can think it's unfair as all get out. But the old saying is, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this as a person that kind of grew up a knucklehead. Let's call myself that, and I had to kind of grow out of that. A guy that was terrorizing his own community, those sorts of things that I participated in.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you can't grow out of that until you realize that what you're doing is objectively incorrect. It's wrongful.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of build some sort of course or plan of action, and you get out of that. So the white pill, if you will, is that there's positivity in that. There are people that have changed. I've seen a lot of growth in a lot of individuals over the last 10 years. That doesn't mean that there aren't people going the other way as well. So maybe you can make the argument that it's a wash. I just think that we have a long way to go.
Yep. How does one? I'm fascinated by your transparency and your openness about your own knucklehead status back in the day. That is. So how does one grow out of? I love your phrase. How does one grow out of terrorizing one's own community? How do you grow out of that?
Cool, man. I think it's becoming more knowledgeable. I mean, and I don't mean like in a sense of like higher education, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the easier route. Like, we often think, hey, people become more educated, and that's what we deem as education, is going to some university.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's more of just embracing the fact, as we spoke about in the first segment, you owning yourself and being responsible there. I grew up kind of in this era where I'm blaming external factors for every, let's say, shortcoming it is that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once that just general mind state started to adjust, I started to reap the benefits sort of as an individual. So instead of looking at it like, well, my environment alone is why I'm doing all of this stuff and trying to make excuses for what it is that I'm doing, it was more of, well, it does not have to be this way. And yeah, I may be pressed with an unfortunate situation, but I can certainly make the most of it. So it's more of actualizing that. It's more realizing that and planning sort of course of action there. For me, the subject matter was economics.
Mm-hmm.
I became more knowledgeable on that, and going from Austrian economists and Chicago economists, or really it was the other way around, and really understanding even how something as simple as government impacting your economy, even when masking themselves as sort of these saviors, has had these sort of detrimental effects. But it ultimately boils down to the individual. So I think it's you got to kind of realize that, and that's the start of kind of growing out of the knuckleheadness, if you will.
Mm-hmm. How do Black libertarians process Black freedom? Or put another way, what does Black freedom mean to Black libertarians?
For us, at least, and again, speaking for myself, I look at the ability to be able to, it sounds cliche, but do what it is that you want in your own individual capacity. So that's pertaining to, your private property, again, starting with your individual self. And there's barriers. We all understand that. We recognize that there are those out there that would want nothing more than for you as an individual to fail. There's often these sort of obstacles that, look, I would love to get rid of, certainly as it pertains to the government, that hinder, let's say, your ability and mobility to be able to sort of move. So when I look at trying to bring about a more freer nation, if you will, I look at it like trying to get rid of those barriers that are objective, not like, just kind of talking about the boogeyman. It's more of there are things that are identifiable that I think we can try to get rid of. And I'm not just talking about in a given mind state. I'm talking about, again, as it pertains, to government. I say this as a business owner, even just looking at the regulatory body, which it does not incentivize anybody to even go out there and try to be a business owner because they make it so incredibly hard. So for me, it's like trying to get rid of those objective barriers will bring about a more freer society.
What do Black libertarians view or see as the proper role of government? Everybody has their own ideas. You mentioned government a few times. And I'm just trying to get an understanding of what Black libertarians think the proper role of government is or is not.
It depends. A great question, by the way. It depends on who you ask. I mean, it's on a scale. Even libertarianism is on a scale. I lean more towards the complete, absence of the government. But most people are what we call minarchists, right? So they would believe that the government, and I would prefer that over what we have now, believe that the government, the only proper role is pertaining to protection of those individual private property rights. So often minarchists, they say, whether it be with protecting, borders or, court systems and police and stuff like that, but only as it pertains to someone's using aggression upon someone else, and we need to solve that dispute is more so what it is. So it's very, very limited. It's not to, obviously they're going to be against like kind of welfare statism and all of that good stuff. But it is a scale. I will be fair. And I think as, you start to have these conversations with more libertarians, you'll find those more identifying with me where I'm like, I don't want this. If at all possible, I would like there to not be a government. But for others, it's more as it pertains to like security and settling sort of disputes and stuff like that.
See, I don't. That's where some Black libertarians or libertarians period lose me. I'm happy to have a conversation, even a debate, about what the proper role of government should be. That's why I use that phrase in that way. But you can't tell me you don't want no government. I mean, we have to have and operate inside of some sort of apparatus, Eric.
Well, it depends on, again, like what it is that you define as that, right? A government and what it is that you look at. Like, obviously, governing is still a concept that I believe that would exist absent of, even if the government just destroyed itself tomorrow, right? People like it'll be more closer in proximity, but there's going to be some rules, right? There's going to be some level of law, let's say, in that case.
Yeah, somebody to your earlier point, somebody's got to deal with the knuckleheads.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So there's going to be some form of governing. I think where that scale exists is like, how big do you believe that state needs to be, and who they are ruling over? Like, you take the United States of America, or rather in the federal government sense, that's ruling over 300-something million plus people that really differ greatly in terms of culture and, location, obviously, geography. It's all different. And not every individual is the same. And there are some unique sort of cultures. So does it make sense that there's this one size fits all for such a big body? I don't necessarily think that's the case. But to your point, there is going to be, even if you said, hey, the government's gone tomorrow, there's going to be some level of governing because, to your point, somebody's got to deal with the knucklehead.
Nope, I hear it. So I want to circle back to my conversation with Dr. West last night that I referenced earlier in this conversation, Eric. And I'm not asking necessarily for a particular person. You can answer any way you want to answer it, of course. But I'm a Black progressive, unapologetically progressive. You're a Black libertarian. And I'm not so sure that either one of us is happy about the choices that we have headed into this election season. So when you, as a Black libertarian, when you look at the frame politically that we are in right now, as we head to 2024, what do you see? Like, who do you, again, where does your vote go? Do you cast a vote, or do you not believe in government so much you ain't even voting? So I'm just trying to get a sense of how you're viewing the current political frame that we're in between now and 2024, November.
Oh, well, yeah, the current political frame is not a positive one by any means. I think we can all agree, no matter where it is that we're at, that the options are not the best, if you will. But look, I'm not one of those that get so caught up, not in this day and age, right? Get so caught up in the ballot box because, as I mentioned earlier, again in the first segment, look, I think there's just so much work to be done just from an educational perspective that, look, man, the change is not going to come there. It's not going to come in the ballot box, not yet. It's just so much work to do. I mean, having these conversations with people around the country, and man, it's like, dude, we got a long way to go, man, before I can even, think that there's going to be someone sort of even paying lip service to the idea of libertarianism. Like we got a ways to go. So I don't get caught up. It can be, and I'll tell you this: the reason why I don't get caught up because that's kind of depressing, right? I mean, think about what it is that you just said. Like you're looking at your options here, and you're like, this sucks. Like there's nobody here.
And yet, how would you respond to this sentence that you've heard, I'm sure, countless times? We all have, that your vote is your voice, and that if you don't vote, you can't complain, and that somebody died for you to have this precious right to vote, and that the two most important days of your life are Election Day and the day you meet your maker. All those sort of mantras and metaphors and statements that people make all the time. How do you respond to that sense that to opt out is to do disservice to King and all the others who fought and died for our right to vote?
Yeah, and I would vehemently disagree with them. And I get it. Look, that's a hard pill to swallow. It's just beating our heads to your point, like all of us, like, hey, this is the most important thing it is that you do. But I've learned a lot, in navigating this world, man, and understanding the reality is the reality. All that sounds good. And I think the reason why we say that, or folks say that so often, is because it makes it appear as if you have a lot more power than what it is that you actually have. And it's put up in this sort of pretty little bowl. And it's cute and it sounds very good, but it's not the reality. It never, and to be fair, it never really has been the reality. Look, in order to bring about the world it is that you want to see, it's going to start with those that are around you in your individual community. So I would make the argument that maybe from a voting sense, if we're really going to place so much stock in it, it ain't going to be at the presidential level. It's not even going to be at the voting for your federal representatives, if you will, in the House or the Senate. A lot of that stuff is going to be single issue items, and those are going to be far more impactful than anything that it is that you cast for a president. So I get it. And all that stuff sounds good, but when it comes to actually bringing about change in your geographical area, it's hard to believe that is the most important thing. I think having conversations like you and I, to be completely honest, right now is going to be far more conducive to bringing about the world it is that we want to see than it is casting a vote.
No, I hear you. I hear your point. That's your point of view. You got 30 seconds left here. Is the black libertarian class growing? And if so, for what reason or reasons, right quick?
Absolutely. It is growing. I've seen it grow over these past few years, especially last maybe half decade. And I think the reason is people are seeing these options play out the way that they have. We were just talking about the political landscape, and it's just not working for them. And I think people are realizing that there's now other options. You don't have to be just put in the pretty little box that everybody wants to put you in. And people are being faced with those choices and realizing, well, I don't have to make that choice. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of growth there.
He's a black libertarian, and I appreciate his perspective. Eric DeJuly, good to have you on the program. All the best to you, and happy holidays, sir.
To you, too, as well, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you for your time. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
What's up, party people? It's your favorite MC's favorite rapper, MC Light here. And we're celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, authentically powered by Cadillac. And we're going to take it way back to where it started. It was only fitting that hip-hop began with teenagers at a back-to-school jam in the rec room of a South Bronx apartment complex by an 18-year-old brother. By the way, I'm also sure he had a Cadillac parked outside. He noticed the energy on the dance floor when he switched between two turntables, extending the beats, repeating the breaks, and never losing the rhythms. And that was the birth of hip-hop. And from that moment, it took off.
For more on how Cadillac is celebrating hip-hop's 50th, visit Cadillac.com/audacity.
I'm Ree Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The 2023 Atlantic season comes to an end, finishing up with what the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration is calling an above-normal season. The 20 named storms ranks as the fourth highest since 1950. 7 storms were hurricanes, and there were 3 Category 3 or higher. According to NOAA, an average season has 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. 6 in 10 drivers admit to unsafe behaviors behind the wheel. This, according to a survey out this week from the AAA Foundation for Traffic Survey. Nearly 23% admitted excessive speeding, with the survey finding that speeding has the lowest perceived social disapproval. And that's the latest. I'm Ree Harris on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Save big during Lowe's 25 Days of Deals. Right now, get up to 50% off select artificial Christmas trees, holiday lights, and more. Lowe's knows deals every day. Valid through 12/6 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Easy game for the Lakers last night in Detroit. They win by 26 to extend the Pistons' losing streak to 15 games. D'Angelo Russell had a game-high 35. Not much time to celebrate. The Lakers play at Oklahoma City tonight. OKC is the number 4 team in the Western Conference. The Clippers also get an impressive road win last night. They win by 14 at Sacramento. The Clippers had only 5 turnovers the entire game. A dominant performance from Kawhi Leonard, 35 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists. Best game for James Harden as a Clipper, 26 points, 6 assists, and 5 steals. The Clippers are at Golden State tonight. Tiger Woods played 9 holes Wednesday in the first round of the Hero World Challenge in the Bahamas. It was Tiger's first PGA event since he dropped out of the Masters in April. Tiger tees off in the second round today. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello?
Man, where are you? I thought you were coming.
I can't. I'm in bed with the flu.
The flu? Whoa. Grandma's about to crowd surf. Man, I'll call you back.
Don't get stuck at home with the flu. A flu shot is safe, effective, and you can get it at the same time as your COVID-19 vaccine. A flu shot is the best way to prevent the flu and its potentially serious complications. Don't get flu FOMO. Learn more at getmyflushot.org.
Brought to you by the AMA, CDC, and the Ad Council.
Only 1 in 5 people with autism are employed, despite many having the skill set and desire to work.
Maybe it's because employers don't know what kind of jobs they can do. Like, what about a programmer?
That's a job for someone with autism.
How about a healthcare worker?
Yep. That is too. People with autism can do a lot of different jobs, but often get overlooked due to outdated stigmas. Introducing WIN by Autism Speaks. We help businesses lead the way in inclusive hiring.
What about a ranch hand?
To learn more, go to autismspeaks.org/win.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
That's what we were taught, service before self.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When was the last time you reached out for help?
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the exclusive media sponsor of this light of ours, activist photographers of the Civil Rights Movement. A dynamic new exhibition on view now at the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles. This light of ours showcases more than 150 photos taken by movement insiders from diverse backgrounds that reveal the vital work undertaken by a broad coalition of organizers and everyday people whose collective action changed America. This light of ours is one of 3 temporary exhibitions currently on view at the Skirball, which together explore issues related to civil rights, immigration, and pluralism. Tickets and more information for all 3 exhibitions are available at skirball.org. That's skirball.org. SKIRBALL.org.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
On May 10, 1875, a former slave stood in front of a judge and was sworn in as a deputy U.S. Marshal. That man was Bass Reeves. Terrence Anthony is a writer on the Paramount Plus series Lawmen. Bass Reeves. He joins us now to talk about the new show. Terrence Anthony, good to have you on the program. How are you today, sir?
I am good. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Good to have you on the program. Before I get into the series itself or the show itself, I was just thinking earlier today how fascinating time is. I mean, as we say and we all know, timing is everything. But I've been in a number of conversations of late. I'm thinking now about Bayard Rustin and all of the respect he's finally getting all of these years later. We had a conversation the other day about Pauli Murray and all the respect that she is finally starting to get now. James Baldwin over the last 10 years. Everybody's quoting Baldwin. I had a guest earlier today quoting James Baldwin on this program. A white guest, no doubt, no less. A white male quoting James Baldwin. So everybody now is quoting Baldwin. And so there's this way in which, again, timing is everything. And these iconic African-American heroes and sheroes who have not been regarded as they should have been all along, find themselves in these moments where everybody's talking about them. So a year or so ago, I had Isaiah Washington on this program talking about his movie, in which he starred, of course, as Bass Reeves. And now you've got this series, Bass Reeves. So I guess my opening question is, why is Bass Reeves finally getting all this love?
Why? Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the real question is, why didn't it happen way sooner? When you find out about him, when you find out everything that he accomplished and the time that he lived in, it's amazing to think about how many other stories have been lost to time and whitewashed and suppressed.
Yeah.
And, it for the series, I mean, I know with David Oyelowo, it took him years and years to get it together. So it's been a long time coming, and I'm just happy it's finally on screen and millions of people are discovering who this person is and learning more about him.
Yeah, but to my question though, what's happening or what has happened? Do you think that's made Hollywood open to the story of Bass Reeves? Clearly, his iconography hasn't changed. What he accomplished hasn't changed. His story hasn't changed. But for whatever reason, we're now open to hearing this story. What's happening in Hollywood? What am I missing about why the ground is so fertile for the telling of the story about Bass Reeves?
I think with Hollywood, I'm still learning. This is my first TV gig, so I'm still learning sort of how Hollywood works. But it feels like they're definitely more open to Westerns right now. And it was, timing is everything. And I think the idea that we could, have this Western, have a Western with a black character as the main, focus is just, something that good timing at this point.
Yep. What's your sense, at least, what's your study tell you about how Westerns starring black folk actually work? In other words, how are Westerns that star black folk actually received? I asked that question, of course, against the backdrop of the fact that we all know, for those who know our history, know our story, there are all kinds of black cowboys. We don't get that storyline. That's not been the narrative coming out of Hollywood for decades. But there are all kinds of notable African-American cowboys. And so what's the research say? What's the data tell us about what happens when you put out a series, a Western, that stars a black lead?
The data seems pretty good so far. I think the series has gotten a lot of views. We were number one on the Paramount Plus app the other day when I checked. People are responding to it positively. It's something that, folks are definitely, I know myself, have been wanting to see, and, I think the time has come.
What is the story that this series purports to tell? Again, there's so much to the life and legacy of Bass Reeves. One could take a particular moment in time, a particular storyline that you want to pursue. But what is the storyline of this particular series, Lawman Bass Reeves on Paramount Plus?
Yeah, the series begins while Bass is a slave during the Civil War. His master, George Reeves, served for the Confederate Army, and like a lot of slaves, they followed their masters into the war, and we chronicle Bass's escape into Indian Territory, him living with Black Seminoles, learning the language, learning the culture, and after the Civil War ends and he becomes free, spends some time as a farmer, and then is approached by Judge Parker to become a deputy marshal. And the series chronicles, his life as a marshal, him learning sort of the ropes, but it's also about what justice is and what justice would mean to a man like Bass Reeves, who spent the majority of his life with the law asserting that he was only 3/5 of a human being. How do you carry out your duty as a deputy marshal when you come from that kind of background?
And how does the series answer that particular question? What justice means, what justice looks like for Bass Reeves, given his backstory?
Yeah, I think I don't want to spoil anything, with how the series ends, but that was a big question in the room. Is sort of how do we chronicle what impact this has on him, and what are the challenges for a Black man who was in chains, and sort of and gets into a place where he's putting others into chains, and there's some conflict, there's some challenges for him, and what is and it's going to have an effect on him as the series progresses, leading up to the climax at episode 8 that were really interesting to explore, and something that we all wanted to make sure the series talked about, looking through the lens of today and sort of the challenges that we all know that we face with law enforcement. What was it for a man at that time in history?
Yeah, you're right about that parallel. I hadn't thought about it in the way you just laid it out, but that parallel, as we say, that part does in fact exist. We're talking about the Paramount Plus series, Lawman Bass Reeves, with the writer Terrence Anthony. More when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Now. We tend not to think about now. We dream about tomorrow, relive yesterday. But right now in front of us is victory over cancer. Right now, cancer research funded by the V Foundation is leading to better treatments and saving lives. Victory over cancer is there for the taking by you, because today's cancer research is tomorrow's victory. Learn more at v.org.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
Made fresh daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Terrence Anthony, there are those who believe, and this ain't nothing new. I'm sure it ain't nothing you ain't heard more than once. There are those who believe that Bass Reeves is the real Lone Ranger. Of course, when the TV series was out, there was a white man, in fact, two white men over time, who played the character of the Lone Ranger. But there are those who believe that Bass Reeves is the real Lone Ranger. Thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've read, there's no direct evidence of that, but we definitely played with it and leaned into some of the connections with the show, giving him a white horse and, Native American posse man. But we played with those tropes and, wanted to throw a few, Easter eggs to the folks that know that connection or have heard about that connection. But, definitely I believe that a lot of, characters were inspired by Bass Reeves and, the things that he did.
Mm-hmm. I've heard. Let me pivot for a second here, because I've heard this from more than one person, persons who are Bass Reeves fans, or certainly fans of his story, his life and his legacy, who have been bothered by some of the promotion. And I know this is not your lane. I'm just bringing it to your attention to really see if you've heard anything about this. When you see the poster, some of the promotion for this series. I believe it's Dennis Quaid. Is that Dennis Quaid? Is that the right actor? I have that right? He's in the yeah. Okay. So on the poster, So on the poster, you've got David Oyelowo, of course, playing Bass Reeves, and you've got Dennis Quaid, a white male, of course. And the image on the poster, it almost makes it look like that this white man is sort of towering over him. Is that he's the real star of the film? I mean, there's the way this poster is designed, the promotion of this series. When you see it, you don't get the impression that this was a bad black man and that he was running things. You got him on a poster with a white guy. They're looking at each other. It really doesn't suggest that the star of this story is Bass Reeves. Now, this ain't the first time in my career that I've had a conversation about a black film that I didn't think was promoted properly, and I'm not suggesting that this is one of them. I'm just asking whether you've heard any commentary about the way that Bass Reeves in character is being portrayed in the promotional campaign about the work that you all have done.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen that poster. And we've been to, we've done some screenings around the country. And I can just go by what the reactions were with folks that actually saw the show.
Yeah.
And, everyone's been very positive and surprised, I think, too, that we created a show with the black man, kicking butt and in the way that we did.
Yeah, no,
I'm
glad.
I haven't seen that poster.
No, I'm glad.
I'll take a look at it.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that the audience is responding well to it. Is responding well to the series. But I've heard persons, and indeed persons who knew you were coming on the program to talk about this, who have complained to me about the fact that the poster doesn't give the impression or the image that he's a butt-kicking black man. That doesn't come across in the promotion of the series, and that could be problematic for some. I digress on that point. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Terrence Anthony, I am curious to ask him, particularly on this side of the writer's strike now being over, thankfully, and for that matter, the actor strike over, the SAG strike over as well. You heard him say earlier that this is his first, he's a writer on this amazing series, but this is his first time in a television writing room, and I'm just curious to find out how he finds being in this writing room as a brother. We'll talk about that when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Seeking the truth, speaking the truth. This is the Tavis Smiley Show.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chucha's opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chucha's Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
The series is Lawmen. Bass Reeves, now streaming on Paramount Plus. The series is. One of the writers on that show is Terrence Anthony, who has been our guest for the last few minutes. Before I wrap this conversation, Terrence, you mentioned earlier this is your first time in a writer's room for a television series. As a black man, how are you finding the experience of being in a writer's room?
Man, I think I really lucked out from some of the stories I heard from other folks I know. The writer's room was a really positive experience. It was diverse, but the black writers on the show, we all were heard. It was very collaborative. Never felt any pushback around the things that we wanted to explore. The importance of having a show that features a character who was formerly enslaved and his wife, and being able to create like a Western with all the action and all that, but also focus on what it was like to exist during Reconstruction, what it meant for a black family to be existing in this time. And I feel very, very blessed to be able to, have this experience as my first one as a TV writer.
Yep. What is the audience going to, or what do you and the other writers hope that the audience is going to take away from this series about the legacy of Bass Reeves?
I hope the audience takes away sort of the big picture, what Reconstruction really meant to this country. I think this is an opportunity that we had to sort of wrap this Western in sort of history that doesn't get talked about enough in this country, I believe. And, the promise of Reconstruction is sort of, and the looming Jim Crow era coming in sort of throughout the series, you'll see in upcoming episodes as well. And, some history, have some history go down with the action and the gunfights and all that.
Yep. The series, again, is called Lawmen, Bass Reeves, now streaming on Paramount+. We always love the opportunity to give black writers a little shine on this program. And Terrence Anthony, one of the writers who has brought us this series on Paramount+. Once again, it's called Lawmen, Bass Reeves. Check it out. Terrence, congratulations to you on this project. All the best to you. Thank you for your time, and happy holidays.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good to have you on. When we come forward in our third and final hour today, a conversation about the 35th anniversary of World AIDS Day. And what is the status? It's almost as if we are tackling and addressing some of the other issues that I was thinking last night. When's the last time I heard somebody even mention AIDS? It just isn't on the docket the way it used to be, but with 35 plus years in, and we'll talk about the 35th anniversary of World AIDS Day in our next hour, and we will also talk with Marcus Scribner. If you are a fan of the show Blackish, then you must be familiar with the character Andre Jr., played by Marcus Scribner. Marcus now has a film out called How I Learned to Fly. He stars in the film. He produces the film. We'll talk to Marcus Scribner about How I Learned to Fly as well. Do all of that in our forthcoming and final hour today. You're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Ray Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. The 2023 Atlantic season comes to an end, finishing up with what the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration is calling an above-normal season. The 20 named storms ranks as the fourth highest since 1950. 7 storms were hurricanes, and there were 3 Category 3 or higher. According to NOAA, an average season has 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. 6 in 10 drivers admit to unsafe behaviors behind the wheel. This, according to a survey, has the lowest perceived social disapproval.